This top 10 list contains elements that are not suitable for people under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, I do not own any of the songs in this video. All rights go to their respective copyright holders. Carpe diem, my name is Ultranatic, a lover of animation, reality shows, and all forms of music.
Rock me gently, rock me slowly, take it easy, don't you know?
Yes, I still mean all forms of music.
You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine.
Yes, despite that, I still mean all forms of music. Alright, I get it! Crud exists! Christ, will you stop torturing me, please? For those uninitiated, all of those abominations were hits in the US in 1974. A year that has just one of the worst reputations for popular music, getting panned from every angle. And after making videos of the worst hit songs of 1974, I now see how this year can be seen as one of the worst for mainstream music.
I heard my mama cry, I heard her pray the night Chicago died.
There was just so much mediocrity clogging up the charts like a backed up toilet with no plunger. The worst hit songs of this year were boring, incompetent, chintzy, and absolutely ridiculous. And going through them just rattled my brain to the point where I don't think a therapist could put it back into place.
Well, yes, they call him the street.
No amount of therapy will ever make this moment okay.
And as much as I want to be done with this year, I still have a best of list to take care of too. You'd think I'd be more enthused, but did you see what I had to cover last time? I doubt any music from 1974 was good enough to make me forget that, so don't expect me to be in the best mood even covering the best of this year. It couldn't possibly have been that good.
Clap for the Wolfman, he gon' reach your record high. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Tango boogie, tango boogie, get it up. Tango boogie.
Now I'm in the spirit of things. Yeah, I've got a bit of a confession to make regarding these videos. I didn't choose to go over this year for its bad music. I know it's what gets the most views, but it's rarely fun for me to listen to awful songs and then have to analyze them. Now, admittedly, that was my original intention for going over this year, just to see if I could somehow survive it. But as I began wading through the trenches of musical hell to see how deplorable this year was, I was genuinely shocked that not only was there really good music this year, but some of it was the best music of the entire decade. You might think I'm kidding, but listen to all these songs that didn't make the list.
Every day I'm looking for love. Smoking in the boardroom. Smoking in the boardroom. Land on the run. Land on the run.
Worst year in music, folks. Okay, I can't ignore the worst of this year either, but how is everybody else ignoring the best when they're this good? Listening to the good music this year reminded me that 1974, like every year in history, wasn't 100% bad. We had Hank Aaron making baseball history by breaking Babe Ruth's home run record, some groundbreaking movies premiering as well. And sure, 1974 gave birth to Alex Jones, but it also gave birth to Seth Green, the creator of Robot Chicken.
I got it! Oh!
And yes, these things were still terrible, but my points show that we had some good distractions on hand too. Granted, our best distractions should have come from the Billboard charts, and while it seems like they didn't in hindsight, I think I can make a case that they actually did way better than anyone is giving them credit for. Can I do it? There's only one way to find out. It's time for me to take care of business and show you something good. This is a list of what I consider the top 10 best hit songs of 1974. Number 10. Fun fact, the song in my transition, Can't Get Enough of Your Love Babe by Barry White, was a #1 hit in 1974, but did not make the year-end list. And by extension, won't be making this list either. It's criminal, I know, but do you want to know what other beloved hit came out this year and didn't make the year-end list? Yep, Sweet Home Alabama, the highest charting song by acclaimed classic rock group Lynyrd Skynyrd, was released in summer of 1974. Heck, it actually peaked higher than some songs that did make the year-end list that aren't well remembered, but somehow didn't make the list proper, and on justice, only matched by this one song sampling it.
Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long.
Wars started over less than that.
Wrong. There's nothing less than that.
So what? Does that mean 1974 had no classic rock staples to make the year-end list? This is only number 10.
When I get lonely and I'm for sure I've had enough, she sends a comfort coming in from above.
Yeah, this is seriously at the bottom of the list, which is by no means an insult to this prog rock classic. I just happened to find 9 songs I thought were better, since when you get down to it, this is just another classic rock song about sex. Those are a dime a dozen. What makes this so special? Honestly, not much. As if anybody cares. It's Radar Love!
We've got a thing that's called radar love. We've got a wave in the air. Radar love.
This song is just packed with adrenaline-filled energy. Tell me listening to this doesn't jack you up. It probably won't surprise y'all to know that this song apparently tops several lists of the all-time best driving songs. And who could argue with that given the orchestration they created here, with guitar work, especially in the intro, being inspired by both Deep Purple and Carlos Santana. Yep, I hear it. All I can say is top-notch influence, Golden Earring. Wait, where do I know that name from? Oh right, my pick for the most underrated Halloween hit song, Twilight Zone, the only other US hit from this Dutch rock group. And given what I've heard from these guys, that is a crying shame, because this band made fantastic rock music. And while Twilight Zone was their biggest hit, Radar Love is probably their greatest legacy. Though I suppose it's fitting that these two songs are their most popular, given Radar Love could very well be a Twilight Zone plot. Think about it, a song about having a sixth sense of knowing when your SO wants to have sex with you?
When she's lonely and the longing gets too much, she sends a cable coming in from above.
I know I could see Rod Serling narrating that.
We've got a thing that's called radar love.
I mean, that is what this song is about, and that's probably why it's such a killer driving tune. If taking this journey equals having the best night of making love in your life, heck yeah, I'd make that trip. But it's not just sexually charged, there's also this air of desperation and even risk with this drive.
Last car to pass, here I go. The line of cars drove down real slow, and the newsman sang his same song. Oh, one more radar lover gone.
I hope this guy's had a lot of coffee, because by the sound of it, another dude had this psychic connection and didn't take that precaution.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel.
But it's little details like that that give this song an edge, although there is one detail that slightly takes away from it.
Radio playing some forgotten song, when the leaves coming on strong.
I know it's the 70s and we didn't have as much control over what music we listened to, but that's the song he's driving to?
Coming on strong. I can feel the heartaches coming on strong.
I mean, it's nice, but if you want good driving music, you could change the station.
When I get lonely and I'm sure I've had enough.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that detail, but I feel bad because I feel Golden Earring deserves the best driving playlist possible, since they helped create an immortal staple for everyone else's themselves.
Lord, some things I can't get used to, no matter how I try.
Number 9. Isn't Royals by Lorde such a great song?
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh.
I mean, I've heard nothing but glowing praise for that song, both for its sparse, minimalist orchestration while still having solid vocals and for demonstrating mature songwriting skill, where she tackles themes of how the music industry affects our perception of what fame is with just the image of it, and how that mentality has almost toxically polluted our popular music.
But every song's like gold teeth, gray goose dripping in the bathroom, bloodstains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel room.
That song is gutsy if nothing else, but if I had to nitpick anything about it, it could be a bit more memorable on the production side. Now, doing so would be 100% missing the point, but this is more a song about thinking to than it is about jamming out to. Me personally though, while I do adore this song, I did like it a little bit more when it was originally by... This is what the worst year in music brought to us, folks, and we're only at the 2nd entry on this list.
Hey kids, shake and loose together. Spotlight hitting something that you know to change the weather.
Well, I'm done here. On to number 8.
It's like the more you give, the more I want.
Okay, no, I wouldn't do that to you, but need I really go over why this song is on this list? It's Benny and the Jets! I mean, we all know everything about this song and how it, sorry everybody, I thought I was watching an Elton John performance, but instead we got Cirque du Suggestive. And I thought the music video for Adventure of a Lifetime was distracting. Can we switch to something else? That's better, but yeah, it almost feels redundant to go over this song. It's such a classic, MKTO probably already wrote a song about it. But all the more reason to sing its praises again, because while we do get way too many of the types of songs Lorde complained about, we don't get nearly enough songs like hers that tackle them themselves, even if this song is more positive of them.
We shall survive, let us take ourselves along.
I mean, the song has been recognized as being a satire of the music industry in the 1970s, but not necessarily critical of it. If anything, all the points it does bring up are seen as upsides where the image of stardom has drawn so many people in that it almost seems like they hardly even care about the actual music. But Elton's like, meh, as long as I have their attention, and as long as they're enjoying themselves, I don't see an issue, and heck, I'm having fun too.
You're gonna hear electric music, solid balls of sound.
That is more or less what the song is going for, as Elton plays the role of a superfan of the self-titled group for this song. What kind of music do they play? Pfft, doesn't matter. Look at what they're wearing.
You got electric boots, I'm Moab suit. You know I'm better than a magazine. No.
And in hindsight, maybe that should be an issue with the song, but heck if I'm gonna care either. I think Elton is leaning into what the public sees the music industry as and saying, rather than fight it, utilize it. If you can't beat them, join them. And if you can spread the kind of music that you know will bring joy to people and stick around forever, I endorse it too. Especially since Elton has executed the idea of that sound to absolute perfection. I do mean everything I said about the meaning of this song, but I'm betting most people don't enjoy it for that at all. They enjoy it for the infectious piano playing and stutter effect of Elton's vocals that everyone mimics when this song comes on. Benny and the Jets. Yeah, the production is pretty much We Will Rock You levels of ingenious in regards to getting a crowd into it as well.
We will rock you.
Heck, I bet that's what inspired them too. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. So with so much praise to give this song, how isn't it higher on this list? As much as I love it, am I the only person who finds it just a bit self-indulgent?
Hey kids, plug into the baby.
I mean, not hateably self-indulgent, but when Elton is singing about this band, you know he's just talking about himself, basically. Heck, he probably wears the exact same fashions given it was the 70s, and this is Elton John we're talking about, he's worn stranger.
Stick around.
Now you could argue this makes the song even better since it might be a dive into Elton's vision of himself as a performer. But if Kevin Rudolph and Brendan Urie have taught me anything, no matter how great the song is, singing of your own praises isn't exactly a gracious way of composing yourself. But given Elton John's timeline and given this song is even better than those songs, I can overlook a nitpick like that. I'd have to be spaced out not to. It's so weird and wonderful. It's Benny and the Jets. Benny, 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 Benny and the Jets.
It's like the more you give, the more I want. And baby, that's no lie.
Number 8. Before I reveal to you what number 8 is, you're all probably gonna question it being above Benny and the Jets. Not that the song is bad or even really disliked by anybody, not that I know of, but Benny is such a stellar song that the song I put above it probably won't seem like anything quite as massive or groundbreaking. In fact, it'll seem downright simple. And while it's definitely true, it's also why I love it so much. I present to you 1974's Hey There Delilah.
Well, I know it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you. But what I've gotta say can't wait.
Before I go into this song, I want to clarify. Making a song like Benny and the Jets and nailing it is no easy feat. At least not for the average person, but Elton John is far from average. That song might have been second nature to him. I don't know if I can say the same for this song by fondly remembered folk rock artist Jim Croce. And for those of you who think you don't remember any of his songs, you probably do. This ring a bell? Yeah, that is You Don't Mess Around with Jim, one of his most popular songs in his early career. And you can see why Jim Hopper from Stranger Things loves it, although he probably shouldn't, at least not for the reasons I think he does. Because that song's about a skillful pool player named Jim getting into a fight with someone named Slim, and then being killed by the guy.
And he was caught in about 100 places, and he was shot in a couple more. And you better believe I sung a different kind of story when a big Jim hit the floor.
I'm gonna need to tread lightly here, but respectfully, that song's not particularly celebratory if your name is Jim. It might be for this guy, though.
I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating.
But you get the idea, and that wasn't even the only song of that nature he made. In fact, he had a #1 hit with Bad Bad Leroy Brown, which was practically about the same thing.
Well, the two men took to fighting. They went and pulled down from the floor. Leroy looked like a jigsaw puzzle with a couple of pieces gone.
A lot of his songs were very character-driven and to some degree story-driven too, which takes a lot of effort, but if you look at the progression of his singles, you'll notice some of his later ones steered away from that direction to instead creating music with a more introspective and gentle nature. Oh, he still had songs similar to the ones he made in the past, but there was this newfound maturity in his music that showed a distinct development in character.
Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by.
Which might come from the fact that he'd just become a father at the time, but regardless of how, it gave us songs like this.
Yeah, no, it's kinda strange every time I'm near you.
Now, one more thing to bring up before I go further, especially since it's practically required to mention it. In September of 1973, Jim Croce died in a plane crash when he was supposed to be heading to another concert. And his death is seen as one of the most tragic in all of popular music, which is quite a statement, but also very warranted. Not just because he seemed like a relatably likable human being with a lot of love and support for his family, not just because he already had some acclaim from previous singles, but because when you see how his later singles were turning out, you'll realize we missed out on one of the biggest what-if stories for one of the best evolutions of an artist ever.
Yeah, no, it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you.
I know it sounds like I'm overpraising Croce, and this song for that matter, but listen to this song and tell me after doing so that these lovely guitar strings, exquisite string section, and touching lyrics don't make your heart melt.
Every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song.
This song was written after Jim had a bit of a disagreement with his wife and apparently performed to her shortly after, which normally I wouldn't say adequately qualifies as an apology, ask Robin Thicke.
Is give you that thing, play you that song you and your girlfriend sing.
But from what I can gather, it wasn't a terrible argument or anything, just a small dispute, and even if it had been something bigger, Jim completely sells me on how sorry he is without even making the song about that. It seems more about a man wanting to display his love for someone he truly cares about, but not knowing how to without this song.
There you are with your...
Not like that. No, from what I can gather, neither of the people in this song are attached to anyone else.
So I have to say I love you in a song.
But one thing that should be a downside is that the song's not incredibly specific. You could almost see it being written by anyone. That criticism has crossed my mind a lot, but every time I hear this sincere performance from Jim, I know it couldn't have been.
Every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song.
No, this was him. This was from his heart, and he did it because he knew things weren't going to be right unless he made them right.
I just run out of things to say. I know you'd understand.
And that is why I love this song, because Jim went out of his comfort zone to make one of the loveliest and most beautiful songs of 1974. I know it's kind of late, but what I've got to say is waited long enough. We love you, Jim Croce, and the life you lived. Rest in peace, good sir.
What can I say? What am I gonna do?
Number 7. Well, I'm making a best of list for a year of popular music in the 1970s. You know what that means. Oh, heck yeah, disco music, one of the most widely beloved genres of the entire decade. Well, we're not there yet. Heck, we're just barely getting started, technically. Disco was practically born in 1974. I mean, look at some of the classic disco hits we had. Rock Your Baby, Boogie Down, Sound of Philadelphia, our bumper music, all still hold up in my eyes, which is definitely a feather in 1974's cap. But there had to have been disco hits shortly before 1974, right? Well, it turns out, yes. In fact, allegedly, one of the first disco hits came out in 1972 by these guys. still a masterpiece to this day, and given how the disco scene was flourishing in 1974, you knew they had to throw their hat in the ring again. Sister Janet Mead, take notes here. This is how you make good worship music. I do want to point out that I am a devout Christian, which I hope was clear from my observations on the Lord's Prayer in the last video.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
But yeah, that song is still terrible, and I could not see it being played in a church setting. Or any setting for that matter. But Put Your Hands Together by the OJs? Oh heck yeah! Disco song or not, I could see that in church. It's the kind of song Whoopi Goldberg would teach the convent Sister Act and wouldn't feel the least bit out of place.
Hail, holy queen enthroned above, oh Maria.
I guess I should give something more in depth about how this song came to be, but Wikipedia is giving me jack squat, as is most of the rest of the internet, but the least I can do is give the credit. The OJs are an R&B group who rose to fame in the early 70s when they signed on to the label Philadelphia International. And founders Gamble and Huff, two legendary Philly soul producers, took the reins on several of their songs, and yep, they became a hit factory, primarily on the R&B charts, but sometimes on the mainstream charts too. Their two big hits this year were this one and For a Love of Money, which did not make this list, but I have to give a mention to because lover of reality shows here. There, I brought that up. I'm not the least bit interested in that show. I've barely seen any of it, and I'd kind of prefer to keep it that way. Song's great though. Heck, it was actually a contender for this list, but I notched it off at the last minute for reasons I'll explain in my honorable mentions. It honestly was originally going to be a tie with this one until I realized Put Your Hands Together was unquestionably the better song. Straight up, it's a song we need right now for two reasons. One, it's so infectiously happy and joyful. This is what I'm talking about when I call it good worship music. These guys are so enthusiastically telling us to clap our hands. I am not denying them that request. Wait. Are they talking about clapping?
We got to pray for all the people who are sleeping in the streets. Pray for all the people who don't have enough to eat.
I mean, it's easy to assume that even they're having so much fun with this, but this might actually have a second interpretation. Rather than putting your hands together for clapping, they might mean putting your hands together in unison with the people near you.
We gotta put our voices together. Sing a song so loud, so clear.
Yeah, this isn't just a song of uplifting spirit, it's one of bringing those spirits together. How did I not notice this earlier?
Let us pray that tomorrow there'll be a better day to come, yeah.
And that's the second reason we need this song. It's a song of unity where we embrace each other and appreciate the goodness in life, regardless of the differences we may have. And I am 100% on board with that idea. Let's put our hands together. Yeah, I just realized I can't do that. I'm alone. Even if I wasn't, we are in a pandemic right now. This might not be the best time.
'Cause we gonna sing.
On the other hand, it may actually be the best time because, there's been a lot of discourse in the country and indeed the world that there needs to be something that brings us together and shows all of us the best in each other. And if there's anything that needs to spread to everyone on the planet right now, it's the message within these lyrics. Because the excellence of this song is something everyone can agree on and indeed bring us closer together as human beings. If that doesn't deserve a round of applause, I don't know what does. Number 6. 2020 has been a rough year in terms of celebrity deaths.
Take a look back at stars whose light burned out this year, but still shines on.
We lost so many beloved actors, actresses, singers, TV personalities, athletes, etc. that all seem like amazingly nice people that they probably deserve their own memorial. But I hope you'll pardon me if, rather than focus on any of them, I instead choose to dedicate this next entry to not a celebrity who died this year, but whose death still lingers as one of the saddest of the last decade. Rest in peace, George Michael. This one's for you.
I can't lie. No more of your darkness.
I wish I could talk about the spectacularly grandiose live performance George Michael duet on, but that's not until the 90s. So we'll have to settle for Elton John's solo performance instead. And if you think I'm discounting it as a lesser version, nope. In fact, I'd argue that the solo version has an advantage over the duet. Don't get me wrong, George Michael's vocals are lush and angelic, but this is another one of those songs that's kinda confusing when sung as a duet. Not leaving it all up to you confusing, but still, that's not what the song originally was.
All my pictures seem to fade to black and white.
Lyrically, the song's about a man yearning for his lover to stay with him despite him having some serious issues.
Too late to save myself from falling.
Some have symbolically linked this with Elton John's drug problems at the time, which definitely makes the song more personal, but it doesn't have to be something that drastic. It could be something as simple as just a man being too controlling.
I took a chance and changed your way of life.
And that makes a personal song simultaneously relatable, whether you've dealt with the same struggle as Elton or not.
Don't let the sun go down on me. Although I search myself, it's always someone else I see.
And that's what propels this song to greatness on its own. I brought up a song Chicago made in my dishonorable mentions in the last video that tried something similar. And while I could see someone taking inspiration from it, there's nothing particularly unique in these lyrics. Which is what makes Elton John's song far more superior, because there is a risk that it'll touch a difficult subject if you've experienced it too.
But these cuts I have, oh, they need love to help them heal.
Whereas Chicago's song, because it could mean literally anything, it technically doesn't mean anything.
Something deep inside,
And while I'm being a bit harsh here, I do consider the song terrible, not just lyrically, but also vocally. Peter Cetera is just trying to reach high notes that clearly are too big for him, which makes the listening experience so much harder. That is not an issue you'll find with Elton John.
Just allow a fragment of your life to wander free.
Elton always had the talent to back up the production in his music. Not just in vocal quality, but also in conviction. You really feel how badly he wants his SO to stay with him despite the demons he's battling.
But losing everything is like the sun going down on me.
It's a song of utter desperation, which should make the production not really click since it sounds pretty uplifting overall. But it's not Waterloo happy or anything. If anything, it's his last-ditch effort before she walks out the door.
Don't let the sun go down on me.
And through it, the love he feels really shines through the music, which is good since he seems to be at a loss for words.
I can't
Well, Jim Croce made a song that might help you. It seemed to work for him. Wow, this might be a footnote, but the backup is fantastic too. Seriously, that is some top-notch talent there. Who sang on it? Oh, Carl Wilson and Bruce Johnston of the Beach Boys, good star, and Tony Tennille. This Tennille.
Love will keep us together.
It's 2020, I've given up being surprised anymore. Also, vocals arranged by Bruce Johnston with help from the Captain. What do you know? It's back. So yeah, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, a masterful piece of writing, singing, and production work. It's easily among Elton John's greatest songs ever, and the worst year in pop music history, I found 5 songs I thought were even better. That just goes to show you, it's possible to find goodness and even greatness anywhere. Don't let the sun go down on anything, because there might be a beautiful horizon we were all missing the whole time.